Live. You are live. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful evening. I've been thinking about this all day and thinking about what questions to ask. And we've got the lovely, lovely Mark Curry in house on the podcast tonight. And thank you guys for joining us on the chat at the side. It was a very short notice. So this will be on replay. So thank you everybody for joining us. And if you want to put some questions to Mark, I'll try and scan through and see if there's anything there that jumps out. So first of all, welcome to Mark Bajerski podcast. Welcome, Mark.
Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry. Dziękuję bardzo. My Polish is absolutely rubbish, and I get attacked for that. Why don't you speak Polish? I say I speak a few swear words because that's all I heard from my dad's mouth. But other than that, I'm not very good at Polish. But my Italian's even sucks. So, but you are, I believe, if I'm right, Curry, is that Irish?
It's I think it is a bit. It's definitely Gaelic. It's kind of Scottish, a bit of Irish. It's a bit of all sorts of things. And I have learned when I order an Indian takeaway to never give my full name, because I once did. This is absolutely true. And I turned up at the restaurant and they hadn't got the food. And I said, "Hello, a meal for Mr. Curry." And he said, "Oh, you phoned up earlier." He said, "We honestly thought that you were having a joke, so we haven't done the food." So I know if I'm ordering a takeaway, I just say it's for Mark, because they don't believe me. They just don't believe
brilliant. Me. What a great story. Fantastic. And we like our curries, eh? I'm a big...
We certainly do.
I was a huge curry fan before I cut out meat. But yeah, I still like curry. I love it. And we like Mark Curry too. Everybody loves you. Everybody's sent messages. So first of all, I'd like to just start off by telling the audience some, like, a few things that I know about Mark as a kid growing up. Like you've done a lot of things. You've done a lot of things, and I think you've done it from a young age. What I know about you is probably the most profound thing that I ever saw, and I actually watched this. You went up to a farm, and you actually grabbed hold of a windmill. And there was no attachment to you. There was no safety net. I mean, there was nothing. And you actually held on to it. And I remember being absolutely petrified, because you went right up and you went right around. But I think you did it more than once.
Oh, yes.
I was a kid, but I remember it. And you were young as well. So it's like, it was like, wow, what the hell? That was incredible. And I think you became fairly famous for that, eh? For doing things like that.
Well, it's the kind of thing that you have to do if you're presenting Blue Peter, which I was at the time. Except that they didn't tell me that was going to happen. They said this film is about how windmill people who owned the mills, actually worked and how they made the bread. So we did all that bit. But I was interested why I had to dress as a miller. I thought, what is this about? Because normally when we did those shows, we just wore our Blue Peter badge and we wore our own clothes. But they gave me this hat and this smock. And the guy that I was interviewing was also dressed the same. And I said, "Well, thank you very much. It's been great." I'd run out of questions. And he said, "If you want to be a master miller, you've now got to go round on the sails." And I should have twigged, because about 15 cameras turned up, for the event. Well, not 15.
You saw the cameras all over, because I actually one of the cameras must have been pointing down, because, well, if I remember, it was like
an epic, And I did ask the director, I said, "Why are there so many cameras?" And he said, "Oh, we're doing something else later on."
Oh my God! So they did wind you up. Did they enjoy doing that? Was it like part of what they enjoyed doing? These producers and stuff.
Well, they just wanted the reaction, the actual real reaction. And of course, on Blue Peter, it became famous. The presenters became famous for doing very brave things. We'd had John Noakes in the 60s and 70s, which you and I remember, because we're that age.
Get down,
and there'd been Peter Duncan, and I came along, and I remember when I got the job, I said to them, "Look, please do not think you're going to throw me out of planes, or throw me off buildings, because I'm not going to do it, because I'm really scared. I've got vertigo. Or
Wow. Have
impetigo,
you?
as my mother used to call it.
Wow.
But they sort of said, well, you've got to do a few things because the kids expect it, because it's an adventure.
Yeah.
So I did do a few things, and one of the things was hanging onto the sails of this windmill and going round and round and round. I mean, ridiculous. Ridiculous.
No, it actually made you famous, I think, and it made you like brave. I mean, that's a brave thing to do, and I don't think I'd do that. Like, no, you'd need to. I need some super glue or something.
Well, it's funny, because I can do things like that. Like, I love roller coasters. I love roller coasters. I'll
Right.
go on practically anything because I'm not in control.
Wow.
But when you ask me to climb up a ladder, or I've been asked to abseil, I've been asked to do a bungee jump, I've always said no, because that's when the vertigo kicks in for me.
It's really interesting.
I was once asked to actually abseil down the front of the BBC. And I just couldn't do it. I'd have needed you there, Mark, because you'd have talked me through it. You'd have given me the best energy, and you'd have said, just focus. But it was like, get on and do it. And I said, no, I really can't do it. But put me on a fast ride or in a fast car or something where I'm not in control, and I'm fine. So the sails of a windmill I could do, because it was just hanging on and shouting and screaming.
Really interesting. A quick question about that. As knowing you as I do, I see you as an empath, kind, caring, genuinely somebody who wants to make people feel better. And the fact that you did a children's show, to me, shows that you love children and you want to show your best and give your best, and you seem completely in a great place and space when you're it's not acting, it's just giving your energy to the crowd. Do you ever get nervous, Mark? Do you ever get nervous?
I do get nervous, yes. I think you get more nervous as you get older. As you said, I've been at it a long time. I was 8 years old when I first went on television, and I don't remember ever being nervous. I remember being incredibly excited. And live television never worried me. But as you get older and things happen on stage, I think the muscle memory is there, and you remember what could go wrong. And you have a few frightening moments, like forgetting your lines, or in the middle of a song, you'll forget the song, or on live television, things will go wrong. And you remember that. So you do get more nervous. And I'm very nervous. I mean, I'm in Wicked at the moment. This is why I'm in my dressing room here at the Apollo Victoria in London. And every night before I make my entrance, and I'm not on for about an hour into the show, every night I come sort of trundling down. Anybody who's seen Wicked, I'm the wizard, and he comes trundling down centre stage on the back of this Oz head. And the band are playing, the orchestra are playing, and it's a big entrance. And honestly, I've been doing it a year now. And every single night I get this feeling. It's not a feeling of dread, but it's a feeling of nerves. But it's a good feeling, because I think if you're not feeling that, it's like you don't care.
Totally get you. I totally get.
So I'm glad I feel that. But and auditions, if I go into an audition, despite all the auditions I've done over the years, I get incredibly nervous. I'm not good in auditions at all. And you just have to own it, really. And you do all the breathing exercises, and you tell yourself, look, I've been around a long time, I can do this. But yeah, I do get nervous. But luckily, so far, it's not the kind of nerves that paralyze me. It makes me just get on with it.
And if people understand this as well, Mark, I went on a TV show called Blind Date, and when I was,
did you, Mark? And we're still presenting it all that time ago.
Oh, it was a great experience, Mark. It was like I'm sat in between two guys who were both coked up to the max, and I didn't do drugs or drink so much. So I've got this. I've got this. These two are all over the place. I've got this. Soon as it went live and she asked me a question, I just flopped, and I'm like, shit, I'm sorry. And then it happened again. Second question. Oh shit, I've done it again. And then she asked me again. And then I went, oh, and I just hung my head down, and I literally, I was frozen, and I looked up and just said, do you know what? I thought TV were for me, but I were wrong. I'm absolutely wrong. And it became the classic one line that Scylla said
You're frozen. Oh, you're frozen. Hang on. Come back, come back, come back. Are you there? You're frozen. Oh. What's happened here? Let's just see what's happened. Let's try and get you back. I've lost you, Mark. Oh, you're back. I think, well, I'm back. I can see me, but I can't see you. Oh, what a shame. I'll go out and try again. You're there. I can see you. I can see you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
We're back. We drifted off, but we've come back.
This is the weirdest thing. This has never happened before, Mark. So I apologize. I don't know. I've got a brand new computer and it just absolutely switched off for no reason. There's no reason for the computer to switch off in any way, shape, or form. But we're back.
There's
and anyway,
it's
weird, Mark. I don't want to talk about too much about these things, but there is definitely something about energy and electric these days. But anyway, my point was that I froze up, made a mistake, and that mistake got me back onto the show, and I could have gone back on to the last ever episode that she aired before she moved into the light, bless her, and that was to bring 3 guys back on and do the original show again, and I turned it down. But where I'm getting to is that I think through our mistakes on these kind of things make us who we are. And I remember lots of things happened with you where actually we were waiting for you to make mistakes on the show a lot of the times. No, it's true though. I remember watching you, like I used to watch downhill skiing on a Saturday morning. And I know it sounds awful, but we don't want it to happen. But are they going to fall? Are they going to fall? Are they going to fall? And it's like you did some stuff like where you like made mistakes and knocked things over and stuff. And that was funny.
And I still do. The thing is, I used to get very excited. I still get very excited. I think I mean, as a kid, I was definitely hyper. And I'm
going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. No doubts about it.
Yeah.
And I think the excitement of doing a live show.
Yeah.
In those days, in my 20s and stuff, I was just so full of it. You know, I learned later on to take myself away before the live show or before a live performance on stage and just really gather myself and be quiet. And that's what I do now. Because the excitement is so much inside me that it spills over into accidents, you know, falling downstairs or knocking things over or whatever. And it's a lot better now than it was. But certainly on Saturday morning telly and live Blue Peters, there was something about that 5:05 or 5:30 when the famous theme tune happened and that drum roll came and we were all that, whoa, here we go. And things would happen, you know, and the incredible thing is that you do some really good stuff that you're proud of, and nobody ever talks about that. They always talk about, didn't you knock the head off the Lego man?
Lego man, that was it. But you know what? Having said that, doesn't it tell you about your audience? Doesn't it tell you about humanity, of what they perceive, what they think, what they judge, what they you know? It's kind of really ridiculous, but it's the shock energy. It's the mistakes that we can relate to as shit. That could have been me, or that is something I'd do. So it's a natural thing that I'm attracted to somebody who is the underdog or somebody who makes a mistake than somebody who doesn't. I find that fascinating. What do you think?
It's real. It's real. And over the years, people have said to me, young performers or would-be presenters have said, give me some tips. What what should I do to be a presenter? And I always say, be you. The difference between acting and presenting is that you have to be you. And you can't think, oh, will the audience like me? If they don't, they don't. If they do, great. But you can't be somebody else. Of course, it's a slight performance. It's a version of you, but it is you. And there I was from Yorkshire, like you know, working class boy growing up, being in telly, didn't feel the need to change my accent. I wore glasses, very short-sighted, only see with one eye. Don't change it. Don't change it. Don't try and be something that you're not. And if things happen, if you knock the head off a Lego man live in front of 6 million people, it's not a disaster. You know, laugh at yourself. You have to laugh at yourself when things happen. It's good. It's real. It's what people do. And I sometimes see presenters and I think they're so smooth. They're so busy being smooth. I just think, oh, something go wrong and make you vulnerable and make you real. It's very important, I think.
That's so interesting. And I find that on all media platforms these days, everybody's trying to actually act, but it's not really acting. They miss the point. Acting is a different thing. What they're trying to do is kind of misinform and try and trick people. And you can't trick people. People know. People feel if it's genuine or if this is bullshit. And there's a difference, eh, Mark? There's a difference.
There is a big difference. And I remember that going back to Blue Peter days, there was a time when it was Karen Keating, wonderful Karen Keating, who was from Ireland, had a very thick Northern Irish accent. Yvette Fielding came along from Manchester, and there's me from Leeds or near Leeds. So you had 3 very different accents, and a few people wrote in and said, what has happened to the BBC accent? Because they'd heard wonderful Valerie Singleton and wonderful Leslie Judd and Peter Purvis, and, you know, John Knox had a Yorkshire accent, but generally the presenters were very well spoken, and generally, not everybody.
Oh, yes.
And he had 3 of us who all had strong accents. And but the editor of the program, Billy Baxter, said, this is great because you're representing kids who speak like this. Kids from Yorkshire, kids from Manchester, kids from Northern Ireland. We need that. And that's how things have changed now. I think that it doesn't matter how you sound, how you speak now. It really doesn't, so long as you're authentic.
Brilliant.
Again, I go back to the same thing. Just be yourself as a presenter, and you'll win through. I think that's the secret.
And the thing is, that in itself, to me, gives me kind of like really understand that. Be you, but yet I want to be an actor. So being an actor, I have to play a part or to be something that I am not. So there's a catch kind of 22 of getting that balance right. And I think, you know, a lot of the times it's hard to find that balance in people because some people end up, I know this on a personal experience, end up being an actor all the time.
Yes.
I actually know some actors who, like, do you not realize that you're acting?
Yes, that does happen because so many actors spend their time acting that they don't know who they are. And maybe that's the advantage of doing some presenting where you've had to put you on camera or you on radio, or the version of you that is presenting at that time. What I love about acting, maybe because I've done so much presenting, is that I can be somebody else. There's always an element of you comes through, your personality. Even if you're playing a villain or whatever, there's an element of you, your energy comes through. But I mean, in Wicked, for instance, you know, I am an American wizard who has arrived in this place, so I have to have an American accent. But he's got the energy that I've got as Mark Curry, because I've got a lot of energy. But it's using that energy and being somebody else, being the kind of guy that he is, trying to get Elphaba, the green girl, to, he's manipulating her, he's saying, isn't it wonderful, you can have all this, but being somebody else, losing myself in those scenes and not being Mark Curry. And that's what I love about acting. But other people who've seen you on telly presenting, they sort of want you to be you. They can't get it. They go, oh, we didn't know you could do that, because they're expecting you to walk on there and be you. It's really interesting. But
fabulous. No, I think it's fabulous.
You can
fabulous.
lose yourself.
Your career, as you said, spanned from 8 years old, and one of the things that I do remember is I don't know what that is.
This is a half-hour call.
Oh, okay. So are you going back on stage again?
Yeah, not for a while. You're okay. So
Okay.
that's the tannoy in my dressing room.
I get it.
And
Yeah.
the manager telling us we've got half an hour, which is
Fun.
exciting. That's when you start to get ready for the show.
Well, I'm not going to keep too much of your time, but
You're
what
fine.
I like.
I'm not on for ages. You're fine.
Okay, so Bugsy Malone. Do you remember much about that amazing film?
I do. I remember Alan Parker, the director, coming up to Leeds, which is a tribute to him, really, because he'd cast some American actors. He'd cast Jodie Foster, of course. He'd cast Scott Baio. He'd cast a load of other kids. They were kids then. But he knew about these kids up in Leeds, and he knew about Junior Showtime, which was, for those older listeners and viewers, will remember this kids variety show, which I was on. Right. And he came up to Leeds to audition. Wow. At the Jean Pierce School of Dancing. She got all these kids together. Most of us were performers. And we did this day of auditions for him. And we knew he was casting a film. We knew it was called Bugsy Malone. I told my mum, and she said, "Is it about a rabbit?"
Yeah. That's absolutely makes sense. It's a rabbit, eh?
We didn't know what it was. He asked me to read the part of Bugsy, so I thought, I've got this. I'm going to be Bugsy. But of course, I was one of the smallest parts in the film. But he was just looking for kids that he thought would look right on camera. Yes. And right as adults, because if you remember, if you've seen the film, we're all playing adults.
Yeah, adults, yeah.
So he was so clever. And he chose myself and Catherine Apanovich, another good Polish girl, to play the producer and producer.
Producer, you were a producer, no? I think, you were a producer in it. And wasn't what's her name? Althqueem.
Yes. Bonnie Langford.
She was in it.
Yeah.
Bonnie Langford. Yeah. She was in it, right?
Yeah.
What was it like just being in that energy at that age?
Amazing. Amazing meeting American kids. I'd never met American kids before.
How did you feel about them? What did it make you think about American kids?
Well, they were so confident, Mark. Yeah. That's what I remember. We were all staying in a big hotel together. And I remember on the first night when we arrived, we were watching It's a Knockout on television.
Oh, I remember that. I love that.
And the English kids, the British kids, which we were watching and getting and enjoying it. The American kids were like, "Yeah, come on, woo, win!"
Completely
jumping around the hotel, and some of them were jumping out the windows because we were filming during the summer. They were swearing. They were just so confident. They were very good on camera, very real, very natural.
Yeah.
But we were all very professional and very well behaved because quite a few.
Well, we were told to. We were told to, weren't we, Mark? Behave, keep your mouth shut, but you speak when you're being spoken to, and
and be polite and be professional. You know, that's what I was told as a kid because I was doing telly. So it was a real eye opener to work with these very confident kids. And Jodie Foster, I met because she was recording her famous song, "My Name Is Tallulah."
Yeah, beautiful.
And she was miming to it, but she was filming her day doing the song. And she was asking Alan Parker about lighting. Where are the lights going to be when I reach this certain point?
Wow.
Where do I look to get that? And I thought, wow, she knows about lights.
Genius.
And she's 14, 15, whatever she was.
Genius.
Even at that stage in her career, she was already this consummate professional, and she just knew what she was doing, you know. So that was a real eye-opener, and the other kids were great. And we just didn't know how big the film was going to be. We had no idea. I went back to school. I'd had to have my hair cut. It was 1975. And before I walked onto the set, I had long hair, and I came off and had this short backside, even shorter than it is now. Wow. And I got back to school, and everybody at school, and we couldn't tell anybody what we'd been doing. We weren't allowed to know.
Yeah. Because for the audience who didn't know, it was based on kind of, was it the 30s?
Yes.
Was it based on the 30s?
Yes, the speakeasies and stuff.
Al Capone and all of that kind of.
Bonnie and Clyde.
It was Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. Brilliant.
So we got back, and kids were saying, "Where have you been? Have you been to prison? Have you been to Borstal?" You know, they were doing all that. Because kids are so cruel.
Cruel.
And when I said, "Well, actually, I've been in a film," they went, "Oh, yeah, right, you've been in a film." And of course, when it came out, it was like, "Whoa, you're in this film."
Oh yeah. You're a different Matt. You're a different you're a different level now, Mark. You're like, okay, this is God. Did you actually feel that at school, or did you feel that people actually had a bit more respect for you, or not? Or did you get jealousy? Or
not really. I mean, to be honest, I had a really quite a tough time at school because I was at a school that I should have probably gone to a stage school or a performing school, because I was on telly all the time throughout my childhood, and it's difficult for kids. You know, kids can be very cruel, and I was different. I was just different from everybody else, because I loved singing and dancing, performing, dressing up. I loved all that.
Yeah.
And I got a bit of stick, really. I had to be very quiet about what I did, which was hard because I was on telly. I just felt different, and they weren't the best at times for me. But
wow,
maybe
you must have held in a lot of emotion.
Yes, I think I did. And I remember my mum saying to me, "This is good for you because it keeps your feet on the ground.
Wow.
You don't want to be surrounded by other kids all the time who are performers, because you'll be unbearable." And maybe she was right. You know, God bless her, maybe she was right. But at the time, there was a school in Leeds, which you may have heard of, called Intake.
Yes, I remember.
And it was a performance-based school, so you still did your lessons. And I begged my mum to let me go.
And she just
said
wouldn't have none of it.
No, because she just felt that I should be grounded in some way, you know, as in keep my feet on the ground. And maybe she was right. But
she did her best, and look how you've turned out. To be honest, I think she's probably done the right thing, because I think a lot of kids get so immersed in this energy that a lot of them crack up and they just lose the plot. So maybe it was the best thing, Mark, because, you know, out of many people that I've read for and healed and met as on levels of working as a healer, as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the most brightest sparks, great energy, wonderful, and I feel extremely balanced for what you've been through in your life. Really, I mean it.
Yeah, well, maybe that was part of it. But also, I just remember her saying, and my brother and sister say, you're not special. You are. Everybody's special. Everybody is special. But kids who have a talent, whether it be athletic talent or musical talent or performing talent, in my case, you are special, but you mustn't act as if you're special. And it would have been very easy when you're on television and being paid and doing quite well. It would be very easy to get carried away with that. So you kind of want people around you who acknowledge what you do and encourage you, but don't treat you in a special way. And I was never treated in a special way. Even at the studios, you know, we'd get to the studios and we'd be expected to learn our lines, know our songs, be on time, get it right in the first or second take. It was tough, and it just made you grounded you in the best possible way. And also be a team player. It's very important to be a team player. I feel that.
Do you know how times have changed with the A-listers and demanding, you know, what they demand and what they expect of everybody else, you know, how to be treated. Don't look in my eyes. Don't, you know, I want the fruit and bowl of fruit in my, you know, it really has changed, eh? The game.
Well, it's very difficult when everybody around you is treating you in a very special way. That's what I mean. And the more famous you become, I mean, I'm not a big star, but I've worked with and met a lot of big stars, and I think the more fame can send you a little bit crazy, because you're getting everything you need. Doors open for you. You'll get that table in the restaurant. You'll get into a nightclub. People want to be next to you. They'll say the right things to you. I can't imagine what it's like to be a massive star.
Yeah, to be an A-lister. Yeah, no, totally agree.
I mean, yes, it's wonderful in some ways, but in many ways it's not real. And so many A-listers are begging for privacy and a chance to be a bit anonymous and just to be themselves. It's a very difficult thing. And I feel sorry for people who go into these reality shows and they become instantly famous, or they get a part as a young actor on a big soap opera or a film, and overnight they become famous, or something like X Factor or any of those programs. You need people around you to guide you and counsel you and tell you what to expect.
It's a great conversation, this, because I made a video short not so long ago about this very subject, and saying that when I went on Blind Date, it was the highest watched show, and it was 13 million, Mark.
Yeah.
And my life changed overnight, but for the worst, because I was named in the Sun the Blind Date rat. So I wasn't. They'd taken, let's say, 3 minutes of filming that was like hours and hours and hours and hours of filming to make me into this nasty man. And I had to cope with that for 7 years, being spat at, being punched, being like literally the worst things that happened to me. But in saying that, I share to the audience that it's made me who I am. So things like people saying nasty things don't really bother me as much anymore. I've learned to cope with it. But I do say that TV, when they try and get, let's say, viewership, and it's normally because of the shock energy that they want, it sometimes leaves that innocent party to deal with the after effect from TV. And that's something that, I try and share with the public.
Yes. And people can be very cruel. I just watched the David, I'm late to the party, but I watched the David Beckham documentary series on Netflix. I don't know if if people have watched this, but I urge everybody to watch it. And I'm not a football fan at all. Don't know anything about it. But wow, what he went through after he made that mistake in that cup final, whatever it was, when he kicked somebody, and the hatred and the loathing and the spitting in his face and calling him names, how he coped with that.
Yeah.
I was really, really shocked to see how people can be. He came through it. Thank goodness he came through it. But to take that, it's just, I know that's very extreme.
No, you can't imagine it. I mean, some people are being killed for that very reason.
Yeah.
In countries.
And I think that you do go into this business, you just, particularly on television now and with social media, and you just have to, I think, not read that stuff, not get involved in that stuff. Just do your job, do what you're supposed to do, and leave it. I mean, that's what I do. I do the show. I go on stage every night, and then I go home, and I forget it. And it would be the same if I was doing a TV program. Live, breathe it when you're doing it, like you do with with what you're doing. But then walk away from it, and don't look at what people are saying. Don't read what people say. Just take yourself away. People can be
cruel. People can be very cruel, but ultimately, I don't even think they mean being cruel. It's a kind of venting for people going through bad in their life. So I try and relate to negativity through they're going through a bad patch. That's there, but to actually be in front of hundreds of thousands of people spitting at you and going through what he went through. It's incredible that he's still, the man that he is, and balanced, and I'm sure it's taken its toll, though. I'm sure it's taken its toll. These things are meant. 1 minute you're the god, and next minute you're the devil almost.
Yes.
And it kind of makes you realize how that tightrope effect is. You can fall off at any moment. And if, I didn't notice one thing, though, that TV is very, very, within the first 30 seconds, somebody makes the mind up whether they like you or they don't. That's what I found.
Right. Yeah.
The judging is very quick, very instant. And it takes longer for them to like you than it does the other way around.
Yeah.
So
and on something like the show you did, you were being you. You were on a top entertainment show, and you weren't going to be on it again unless you got through and got chosen, or you picked a partner. But
they loved me on the first bit when I got chosen. They loved me, and they all said this is going to be the most amazing, beautiful show. It's the next part when we come back from our holiday, because I got chosen, and it's like when we came back, it was like it didn't look good. It looked really bad. It looked
so
really
sad
bad.
that you had that.
But it made me who I am, and then I became a healer, and then I learned to understand suffering. I could understand everybody's suffering. I could understand emotion. I could understand knee-jerk reaction. But it was fascinating to know that what we've been through makes us who we are, and we shouldn't be sad about what we've been through. We should take it as a wonderful thing, because it represents all the aspects of who we are and what we've been through. So how did we meet, Max? I can't even remember how we met.
We met. I remember.
15 minutes, please. 15 minutes. Thank you.
You're on soon.
It's exciting. I remember let's go to the village of Mijas in beautiful Andalusia. And me and my partner Jeremy had just bought a little townhouse. And I remember, like, this is absolutely true. I don't even if I've told you this. I was lying in bed and the windows are open and I heard you. I think you were walking your dogs. And I heard this broad you with your wonderful Yorkshire accent. And you were saying, come on, we're going for a walk. I don't know what you said. And it was like, and I remember sitting up in bed thinking, am I back in Castleford in West Yorkshire? Where am I? I expected to hear Spanish and I heard you. And I couldn't believe it because it was absolutely the accent that I knew, because it's not just a Yorkshire accent, it's from a particular part of Yorkshire. And then, of course, I saw you a couple of times and met you and said hello to you and everything. And then you had this incredible journey where you became the healer that you are. And you came on my radio show. That's when I really got to know you. You came on my radio show over in Spain as a guest.
Did I?
And then I came to you for a reading, a session. And I was just knocked out with you, with what you said and the way you talked about what you do. And so that's really when I
wow. I swear on my life, I can't remember doing a radio show with you. I'm like, am I all right? Have I lost my? Have I lost my? I literally.
Well, you've done so much, but I was presenting the show and I wanted different guests and I knew what you were doing.
Right.
And I contacted you and said, would you come on? And you were a fantastic guest. People were emailing in and ringing in and things, just explaining what you did. And then I came to see you for a session, an energy healing session, which was just wonderful. And we're in touch. So that's
and we've been friends ever since. And we bump into each other every now and again. And I've got to say, Matt, your energy is. I don't know what you could give to the audience, but throughout what you've been in your career, what you've done, because it's a delicate career, it's a dodgy career. It's like I don't know when I'm going to get my next gig, or things going to get worse, and have I lost this life? And I can imagine it's probably one of the most challenging fields of work to be in, and yet you are still joyful, you're still happy no matter whether you're doing something or not. If you've got a message for anybody who not only wants to be in the world of being an actor, how do you maintain the joy and the happiness that you so lovingly share to the world?
I think I'm a big believer in staying in the moment. I know people talk about it, but I'm such a massive believer in that. And I'm in a long run of this show at the moment. It's been a year, and I'm staying until March. This is my wonderful costume assistant, Anya.
Hello, costume assistant.
Who's also Polish. She's Anya Kaczynski. This is Mark Bajerski.
Dobranoc.
She's fantastic.
I wish I could speak Polish. I really do.
Terrible Polish, isn't it? It doesn't know his Polish.
I don't know my Polish. Don't be angry.
You've just told her good night, apparently.
I did. I said good night. It's because I didn't want her to say anything else. Please, God. Yeah, it normally comes across with tons of Polish, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak it.
Do you know, I'm so lucky because Anya has looked after Glenda Jackson, Angela Lansbury,
wow.
Leslie Garrett, really some great people. She's amazing with it. Yeah, this is a long run for me in this, and I do stay in the moment. Every night before walking on, I tell myself it's a brand new audience, 2,000 people out there. They've probably never seen the show before. A lot of them, they've come down from Scotland or America or wherever they've come from. They've parked their cars, they've checked into hotels, they've bought their tickets, they're excited. Try and feel their energy, that excitement that you felt, I'm sure, and I still feel it as a performer. You sit in the audience and the curtain goes up and you, wow. Yeah. Or you watch a movie that you want to watch, and and I try and embrace that. I try and embrace that as much as I possibly can. But I just have a joyful life, really. I mean, obviously not all the time. Nobody's happy all the time. I have
exactly.
But not to get when you do have a downtime, don't get. And it's very easy to say this, and it's more difficult to do. Don't get drowned in that negativity that happens. Just stay in the now. It's the best thing that anybody can say to you. Stay in the moment. Don't think what's going to happen tomorrow. Just stay in the moment and look around you, and if you possibly can. But that's very easy to say for me now. I'm in the dressing room, about to go on stage. Everything's great. How do you put that into practice when things aren't great? When you've been told you're very ill, or your partner's left you, or somebody's died? How do you do it in that situation? But again, maybe that's what you do. You even in those situations, you stay in the moment and hang on to that, really. So
yeah, there is a book called, I think, called The Power of Now. Have you heard of it?
Oh,
I've never read, I'm not a big reader, but I'm completely with you that when you're in the moment, it seems to be a kind of flow that is natural. And as soon as you start thinking about other things, you're out of that flow. And then it all goes kind of a little bit unbalanced. So get back into the moment. I agree. I'm with you.
It's, I mean, even like, drinking the tea, enjoy your tea, drink your tea, enjoy your tea.
As long as it's Yorkshire. As long as it's Yorkshire.
It is. Of course it is. Professional Yorkshire.
Yeah,
brilliant. TV.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's that really, and not looking ahead and not analysing too much what's going to happen, and just enjoy it. But also, you've on your little card that you sent me, because for people, Mark sent me this fantastic stone.
Tektite.
Yeah.
Absorbs negative energy. Tektite.
Right.
It comes from out of this world. It's basically a meteorite, and it's the only crystal that I believe in the world that absorbs negative energy. So any kind of worry, fear, it's there. It's just sucking up that negative energy. That's what I noticed as a healer and energy around people. The energy was just sucked into it, and that was the negative energy, the heavy energy. So you actually feel better when you hold it. You feel lighter. It just makes you feel better. I have one around my neck all the time.
I can't tell you. I mean, I sent you an email saying this works every single show.
Really?
I'm not lying. Every single show, I just have a couple of minutes. I just get hold of it and just say, let's have a good show.
Yeah.
Make the show wonderful. Let's connect with each other. But when you sent it to me, you sent a little card that says something like, the heart that gives is a full heart. It's something like that.
Yeah.
And it's
the heart
so
that gives
true.
is always full.
Yes. Because of course you get something out of giving. You do. When you give somebody something, you get a buzz out of it as well.
Totally.
But that's not the reason to give. You have to give because the person who is getting what you give them, it might just be asking them a question. It might be whatever it might be. I mean, here in Victoria, in London, there are people on the streets down here. There are people outside Victoria Station every night in freezing cold now, and they're rattling a paper cup with a couple of pound coins in it, if that. And it's so easy to walk past them. And of course, I don't do it every single day. You can't. But when you give that person something, and it might just be giving them a pair of gloves you're wearing, or a hat, or a cup of hot chocolate, or whatever. Yeah. The feeling that they get gives you this wonderful feeling, and it fills you with joy. And you've absolutely tapped into that by what you've written there, because it is so true. And losing yourself, not thinking about you, but just thinking about somebody else, you get something out of it. And I try and do that. I really do try and do that.
Yeah, energy exchange, and you do it with unconditional love, without any kind of, well, I've given you this, so you give me back. So that's a business transaction. I'm talking about what you're talking about is giving with all your heart, with no attachments to what you're giving. It's just giving. It's beautiful.
And if you're having a great time, and sometimes we're all having a great time, I go downstairs and I'm in a good mood generally and having a lovely time. There might be people around you. This is a big cast. This is a cast of 30 odd people. Plus an orchestra, plus all the crew. And not everybody is having a fantastic time in their life. There's no way. And you can't just race down and jump about and you've got to really be aware that there might just be people around you that are not having such a good time and don't want you to shout and go crackers. And I've had to check myself sometimes, because I'm naturally very energetic and high, but just because I'm feeling great, don't be so insensitive as to think that everybody else is feeling great. Just take on somebody else's energy for a while and tune into them. It's not all about you. I've had to really learn that, because it's a selfish business. This is
a beautiful point.
5 minutes. Thank you.
This is a very selfish business, and you just can't get carried away with the self. You have to think about, I mean, I'm telling you, you know, but that's what I feel. Try and be aware of other people as much as you can.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, on that note, I just want to say from all the guests that are on here, saying some wonderful things, saying thank you so much, Mark. It's like two Yorkshire guys just talking, and it's, you know, you are the salt of the earth. You're a beautiful soul, and I'm really privileged to be your friend and Jeremy's friend. I'm just happy for both of you, and I hope long may your career continue, and long may your happiness and joy be wonderful, and health and everything else, and have a lovely Christmas. And thank you so much for taking the time out through Wicked to be with us all tonight. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, mate. It really is. And thank you for this. I'm now going to just have a couple of moments. Just going to have a sip of my Yorkshire tea and a quick grab of the stone, and we're off.
Beautiful, beautiful. On that note, good night, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, Mark. Take care.
Hey, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.